One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
Greetings, this is Tai Brown, and welcome to One Question. I'm here at the 2017 Women Leaders in College Sports National Convention. I'm joined by Kathy DeBoer. Kathy is the Executive Director of the American Volleyball Coaches Association. Greetings, Kathy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ty. Glad to be with you.
Now, Kathy, you've been in that role for 11 years, correct?
Correct.
So you have a healthy pulse of what is on the mind of volleyball coaches. Can you tell us what are the college volleyball coaches concerned with? What is on their mind about the game, the profession, and the future of volleyball?
Yeah. Well, women's volleyball is what we call one of the foundational sports with Title IX. I mean, when Title IX was passed way back in 1972, women's volleyball was one of the first sports added, and it is now in 96 and has been for many, many years in 96% of colleges and universities. So we've been a broadly played sport and a broadly sponsored sport, but we haven't really been a broadly followed sport. So we have struggled with developing a fan base, for our sport. And the last, 4 or 5 years, some really, really good things have started happening along that front. Some of it, I have to give credit where it should go. Some of it is social media. Ty, we are not covered by mainstream sports media. And we're the only broadly played, we're the only mainstream sport, if you will, in college that doesn't have a well-funded male counterpart. So we don't have a baseball like softball has. We don't have a men's basketball like women's basketball. We don't have soccer and Major League Soccer, and and so consequently, volleyball, is really defined a lot. I'm going to talk in a minute about what's happening on the men's side, but has been defined as primarily a women's sport. People don't understand the sport. What are you doing? You run around, your best player kills a ball and then you take her out. How dumb are you, coaches? What are you doing? And people don't understand the rotations. And some of that's on us. We got to make it simpler. We got to explain it better. But the last 5 years, we've really seen, particularly in the upper Midwest, a tremendous surge in the number of people coming to volleyball matches, and we've seen an uptick. Our national championship now regularly is drawing 16,000 fans, to the championship. We've just gone to non-predetermined regional sites, so we're on campuses now for most of the championship. That's been a game changer for us. Developing that fan base. We still have. We're still pretty puny in terms of how we rate on television. And that's just part of reaching out to the sports fan and having them understand the sport. But so that's one issue, is how do we make ourselves more of a factor in the sports volleyball or in the sports marketplace? How can we put volleyball more in the center? The second is we're one of the sports that's really struggling with the issue of early recruiting. Girls mature earlier than boys, and when you have somebody at 13, 14, they're not even in high school yet, but if they're 6'1" or 2, and you look at mom and dad, and it looks like they could get a couple more inches, and their feet are pretty good, and they look pretty athletic, coaches are engaged in a competitive event for that elite talent. It's not a lot of kids. But those kids are being offered scholarships. They're being pressed into coming on campus visits and that kind of thing before they even go to high school. And even though everyone agrees this is bad, the parents think it's bad, the kids think it's bad, the coaches think it's bad, the colleges think it's bad, but you know what happens when you get into a competitive event. I don't want to do this, but if you're going to do it, I'm going to have to do it. And so we're looking forward to the NCAA, and they are right now engaged in helping with pushing back when you can have an unofficial visit, pushing back when you can make an offer, putting official visits into the junior year, seeing if we can do some things to slow this down.
Okay. And I assume that they are listening to the AVCA in the suggestions you guys make in terms of legislation.
Well, we feel really good about the partnerships that we have with the NCAA, with the NAIA,
Right.
The National Junior College Athletics Association. We have some good folks out in California with CCCAA, and all of that is because we try and be good partners. We try and listen hard to what are the concerns of athletics administrators, and then how can we be not just a group that's always banging on pans and making noise, but how can we be partners in solving the issues and the problems that we've got.
Right. Well, I'm sure that under your leadership, there has been a lot of strides over the last 11 years with the Volleyball Coaches Association, the game, and those type things. Now, some schools do have men's volleyball. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the future of that?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, there were under 100 colleges with varsity men's volleyball programs. Today there are 188.
Oh, wow.
And we are moving rapidly towards that threshold of 200. Our growth has been primarily in Division III, where it took us 17 years, Tai, to get to 50 programs for Division III to have its own NCAA championship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was 6 years ago. We now have this year playing 94, and we have a count of where we're almost at 100. We need one more, and we'll be at 100 in Division III. In the NAIA, we're one away from being a championship sport on the men's side there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Division II, we have 25 programs, and we've picked up 3 in the last year. Division I, we're still struggling, but we've got some very, very positive momentum at several different colleges that are seeing a place where they can have an identity that may be very difficult for them to have in baseball or football or basketball, but they can, with being in the right place and good coaching, they can have an identity in men's volleyball. And so we think in the next few years we're going to be announcing some new Division I men's programs.
Well, that's excellent. I've known you for a couple of years here, and I've seen you do some great things with the Volleyball Coaches Association, and I'm sure they appreciate the leadership that you've provided them over the last 11 years.
Well, thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that in the last 6 years, beach volleyball in college has gone from 0 programs to 70 at the NCAA.
Wow.
There's 38 playing out in the California community colleges, 6 in the NAIA. And so yeah, we feel good about the growth for our sport and the opportunities for kids. And it's a good time to be around the sport of volleyball.
Well, good. Well, actually, I appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Thank you.
That was Kathy DeBoer. She's the Executive Director at the American Volleyball Coaches Association. And this is Tai Brown signing off.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.